What is going on YouTube, and welcome back to my channel. This week and the following 4 weeks, I believe, we're going to be looking into Instagram design and everything that you need to know in regards to that. So this series is going to be called the Instagram Design 101 course, and it's going to be a 4-part series. This part is going to be covering Instagram highlight covers and everything you need to know in order to start optimizing your profile and taking advantage of Instagram highlights. So just to cover kind of like a little roadmap of this series and what you can expect, you should see a little fancy graphic appear somewhere around here in a moment. Like I say, first part's covering Instagram highlight covers. The second part, we're going to be covering carousel designs and how you can use carousels to create quite seamless presentations. Part 3, we're going to cover how to set up a nice looking grid for your profile. And part 4, we're going to delve into Instagram guides, which is a feature that I've just came across. It's been around on Instagram for quite a while, but I don't believe people are using it quite as much as they should, which is why I'm going to be covering Instagram guides, because I believe it's a feature that you should really start taking advantage of, particularly if you're someone that creates blogs for your website. It's a potential for you to recycle that content and move it over to Instagram. And also, if you're a designer like myself, it's for you to start making Instagram guides covering big projects that you've worked on. For example, something that I do is I post at least 3 different posts for big projects that I've worked on, and then use the Instagram guides feature to collate all of those posts that I've put out there and put them under one guide where I talk a little bit more in depth about the actual designs and break them down into 3 parts. So you've got the potential to lead people towards these posts through the guide, and you've got the potential to actually talk about them in more in depth, kind of like how you would with a case study. So what we're going to do now is we're going to jump into Illustrator to kick things off. I've got a few icons that I want to use for my Instagram highlight covers, and this is kind of like a norm that people are using for their own. So if you haven't got a set of your own icons, don't worry, you don't need to jump into Illustrator yourself, but it's just something that I'm going to do to kick off the series. So without further ado, let's jump in, let's check it out, and let's see what we can do with these icons. So we're in Illustrator now, and as you can see, I've got a load of different icons to choose from. This is usually what you'll see if you download like an icon set online. A few different places you can do it. If you're a subscription owner, maybe you've invested in something like Adobe stock, then there'll be loads of icon sets for you to choose from on there. Maybe Envato Elements, that's something that I personally use, and that's something that I've used to get these icons. Definitely 100%, there's loads of icon sets on there. But if you're wanting to opt for something free, then I'd recommend checking out Behance, for example. I know a lot of designers watching this will already use that platform. So literally just search icon sets or free icon sets, and it will come up with loads that you can use. But usually with the icon sets, you'll notice that they'll come in AI files. So you'll have the source files to be able to make any changes to them, which for a lot of times, you will want to make changes to him, which is exactly what I'm going to be doing today. First one I want to look out for is Journey. That's one that I want to create an Instagram highlight cover for. So we're going to be using this rocket ship. I think that one looks nice to me. So I'm just going to drag that over to the side. The next one we're going to be doing is advice. So let's see if we've got any for that. Let's use the target for the advice one. Drag that over to the side. And what's the next one? New drops. Simple. If they've got a shopping cart, yes they have. Let's drag that off to the side as well. And then contact, that should be a simple one, just an email icon or an envelope if they've got one knocking about. Let's see, there we go, perfect. So let's drag this to the side. Next one will be inspire. Let's take this mountain top with the flag on the top as inspire. Motivate, nice and simple, take the trophy. And then what else we got? Legends and about us. So I think I'm going to use the light bulb for legends, but I'm going to make some changes to it. And I'm going to use this one for about us. So I'm going to merge these both together. So I'm going to take this silhouette of a person, put it inside the light bulb. And then I'm also going to use this, but just use the circular frame for about us. I don't quite like the magnifying glass aspect to it. Matter of fact, let me take this. This looks like a better silhouette to use inside that light bulb. So, bam, that will do. And we're going to make some minor changes to these because as you can see, this is Vandal Fitness's branding. So I designed the logo for him and also came up with the color scheme for him. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this. I'm going to take this gold surround and I'm going to incorporate it within the actual branding of the highlight covers. So let me just make sure I'm taking everything apart from the actual logo itself. There we go, good stuff. Group that together, and then I'm going to drag it onto this other document so I've got that as a reference, make it a little bit smaller, and then bam, there we go. So I want to take the gold from that as well and incorporate it within this whole design. I'm going to take this white because I believe it's an off-white. It's kind of like a white, but it's going into the blue area of the color scheme. So let's take this and then let's start changing up these icons. So firstly, I'm going to get rid of that tick and we're going to bring this silhouette inside of the light bulb. I'm going to highlight both of them, but let me just make sure that I've grouped everything together. And if you want to know a quick tip on how to group stuff together in Illustrator, just highlight all the objects that you want to group together and press Ctrl and G and everything should be grouped. Then we're going to take both of the objects, highlight both of them, and then to just make them so they're basically aligned in the center, you click horizontal align center and boom, there we go. I'm going to drag this up a little bit further because I don't like where that's sitting. That should be all right. So that one's done. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make the actual silhouette itself gold, and then I'm going to make the surround white. So we're going to have a nice white and gold color scheme going on, and then the background for the cover is going to be a dark gray / black. Actually, I believe it is just pure black. So let's delete some of these elements. This is what I was referring to earlier where I said that you might want to change some of the things about for the icons, because what you'll notice is you might find a nice icon pack to use, but a lot of the time there are different elements that you either want to replace or just don't want to use entirely, and they work a lot better for you if you can do that. Just because you won't find an icon set which kind of fits your entire vision, but you can manipulate them in a sense to kind of match up with whatever it is that you want to work on. So all I'm going to be doing is running through these, changing the colors of them, and then we'll jump into a Photoshop quickly and then start putting the covers together. So let's start making these white and gold, all of them. Make this a little bit easier. I'm just going to highlight all of the blue sections and change those to gold quickly, and then I'll highlight all of the gray sections and change them to white just to speed up the process a little bit. So if you want to highlight everything, or you want to highlight different elements as well, you can do so by just holding shift and clicking on different elements to kind of select them together, and then you can go ahead and use the eyedropper tool to change the color of it to something that you've got already on the canvas. So that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm just holding shift, clicking on the different elements to make sure that I'm highlighting the different parts of the icons, and you can see that you're doing that because it has a blue surround. And then simply just changing the color of them, and that does essentially just speed up your process, especially if you're trying to change the color of more than one object. It really helps to be able to select more than one element at a time. So boom, nice and simple. Before we bring them into Photoshop though, I'm just going to highlight everything and make sure that everything's grouped. So again, if you want to do that, just drag over the actual object that you want to group together, Control and G, and then that'll just group everything for you. So literally just going over everything, grouping it all, and then we're going to open up Photoshop and start making these actual Instagram highlight covers. So I think we're done with that. Let me just take the black color scheme and check if it is actually pure black. So yes, it does appear that I'm just using black in that with no added colors. So let's jump into Photoshop, shall we? And start doing the Instagram highlight covers. So first things first, what you're going to want to do is obviously set up your canvas size. So go on File, New, and then make sure the width is 1080 and the height is 1920, and then just press Create. The resolution you can keep at 72. For whatever reason, I've got my timeline open, so all I'm going to do is make sure that that's hidden, and you can do so by going to Window, and then if you've got a tick next to anything that you want to hide, just click on it and it will get rid of it. First things first though, let's click on this little lock icon in the corner to make sure that that layer isn't locked, because we are going to need to make some changes to it. And I'm just going to reset the foreground and the background colors just by clicking on this little symbol here, and then clicking on the arrow to switch them both around. Because what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change this background to a solid color, and you can do so by changing the actual background color. So let's say, for example, in my case, you want it to be black. Just click on the background color, select whatever color you want to use, press OK, and then press Control and backspace, and it should fill the area for you, like so. Next thing we're going to want to do is first make sure that we've got our guides on. So press Control and R, and by default it might look a little bit like this on the top and the left hand side of Photoshop for you, but if you press Control and R, you'll notice these appear, and that's when basically it makes it so that you can add guides to the canvas. So that's all good. Next thing, Control and T, and then you'll notice that this little boundary box appears. Start dragging out your guides. You're going to want one in the middle there, and then one in the center there. And then if they're not showing by default, what you're going to want to do is press Control and then colon, and then you'll notice you can hide and obviously make them visible just by, you know, pressing this in and out sort of thing. So we want them visible for the purposes of this tutorial, just because we need to know what we're doing. And one thing that I forgot to mention is we're going to need a guide on the left hand side and the right hand side. So again, to do that, Control and T, and then start dragging your guides out from top to the left hand side into the centers as well. Once you've got that set up, now we're pretty much good to go. We're good to get started. So first things first, what we're going to want to do is hover over this rectangle tool, sorry, hold down the left click, and then go to ellipse tool. Make sure you've got a fill on it. Can be any fill for now, so I'm just going to keep it as white. Hold your left click in the center of the canvas, press Alt and Shift, and make sure that it just goes out like this. It doesn't matter what size it is to start off with, and I'll show you why afterwards, but just make sure that all sides are basically equal and it's coming from the center of the canvas. So once you're done, just make sure that you click on the Move tool to deselect the layer, and then press Control and T. And then what we're going to do is we're going to hold Alt and then drag these corners out so that they basically snap to both sides of the canvas. And what this does is it's going to serve as an area that we can use for these Instagram highlight covers. Because on Instagram they sit within a circular boundary box. So to have this in place, it kind of gives us some sort of limitation in terms of what we have to work with. So now that we've got that in place, now this is when the fun begins. So let's start by dragging our elements in there. So like I said, I'm going to use this as a little bit of a boundary for the whole image, and we're going to drag that in. We'll copy and paste it, sorry. And if you are working with Illustrator and you're pasting objects in it, just make sure that you paste them in as a smart object rather than pixels, because if you need to make any changes to them in terms of scaling them, you're going to want to make sure it's a smart object so you don't get any pixelation or anything like that. So boom, I'm going to need to make this bigger obviously because it's quite small. So the first thing I'm going to do is just change the scale using these width and height figures. And if you are using these, just make sure that you've got this link enabled, and you'll notice that it is enabled because it has like a little indent and it turns to a darker grey box. So we change this to maybe 320. Let's change it to 335. Nah, I want it a little bit bigger. Let's change it to 340, 350. Yeah, 350 will do. So we're just a little bit inside this boundary box, but it doesn't really matter too much. I want a little bit of breathing room between the edge and this actual gold surround, so that's all good. For the purposes of this, because I've already got kind of like a boundary area that I know not to cross, I'm gonna just disable this ellipse later, but what you'll want to do is keep this in place until you're done, because obviously it's going to serve as kind of like a boundary box for you and a little bit of a reference in terms of where you can kind of go outside the lines. So let me just delete that. And then next thing we're going to do is we're just going to start dragging these icons in. So Control and C to bring it from Illustrator, Control and V to paste it in place. And then again, I'm just going to be using these width and height figures at the top because they're all the same size through Illustrator. So if I change these to a specific figure, like let's say for example 400, no, it needs to be a lot bigger than that. 1,200, a bit bigger, 1,400. If I change it to 1,400 and then I bring in the next lot of stuff, you'll notice that everything's going to remain the same size if I keep it at that width and height, which is good to keep in mind. I might want it a little bit bigger actually. I'm changing my mind a lot here, but 1600, that'll do. So once you're done transforming stuff, click the tick mark. Weird cut in the video, I know, but I just had to cough. God, that was really irritating my throat then. I think I was talking a little bit too fast. But yeah, like I was saying, once you're done transforming anything, you can either press enter on the keyboard or you can press this tick mark, and it'll just make sure that it deselects the transformation window, and then you're all good. But one thing I did forget to mention is the reason why we've got these guides in place is to serve as a reference where the center of the document is. So you'll notice if I do drag it into the center, these pink lines will appear indicating that it is in the center of the document, and that's exactly where we want it. So that one's done. Next, what we're going to want to do to make things a little bit easier is we're just going to select all the layers within the layers panel. So we're going to click on the top layer, hold shift and click on the bottom layer, and then we're going to press Ctrl and G to group everything. And we're going to call this one, what was it, Legends. So we know that's the Legends cover. And then we're going to duplicate it by pressing Ctrl and J. We're going to use this little eye mark to the left of the grouped layer, and we're just going to click it to make sure that it's hidden. And then we're going to use this as a reference for the next one. So you can just keep on duplicating these to replicate the style. So you've got a new lot of covers to work on. And then if you need to know what layers you're kind of deleting, in my case, I'm going to want to delete this icon and put a new one in. I'm just going to click on the eye tool just to make sure that I am deleting the right one. So let's get rid of that icon and bring in the next lot. So we've got the Legends one done, so I'm going to get rid of that on Illustrator so I know that I've done it. We're going to bring in this next one, which is the About Us one. And then I believe I scaled it to about 1600, was it? Might make this one a little bit bigger. Let's make this one 1800 or 1900. Let's make it something along those lines. And then bring it into the center again. Enter. And then we can do this one, we can rename it. So simple way of renaming your folders or your grouped layers is just by double clicking on the title. So in your case, it will be such and such copy. So double click on it, and then we'll change this one to About Us, press enter, and then we can just duplicate this again, Ctrl and J, hide it, and then we can open the folder, get rid of this icon, and then bring in the next lot. So we've done the About Us one. Let's go for the Inspire one. It was either Inspire or Motivate. I can't remember which one it was, but they're both very similar anyway, so it doesn't really matter too much. Paste that in. Let's make this 1600, and then we're going to press the tick mark, drag it into the center by pressing Ctrl and T, enter. And that one looks all good. So we're going to change the name of it again, Inspire, close the folder, Ctrl and J to duplicate, hide the one behind it, and then we're going to go into the folder again, get rid of that icon, and then bring in the next lot. So next one we've got is, which one was this one again? Advice, that's it. Bring this one in, Smart Object, and 1600, will that work? Yes, it will. Tick mark, Ctrl and T, center it, enter, change the name, and it's just a case of rinsing and repeating this process. That's all it is essentially, for the most part anyway, because all of your covers are going to practically look the same unless you want each of them to be a little bit different. Maybe you want a different background or something like that, but for this purpose, I want everything to be pretty much on brand, using the same colors, nothing really different, just using the same background, same colors, that sort of thing. So I'm going to change this to Journey quickly because I already know that's the one that I'm bringing in. Get rid of this icon, bring in the next one, 1600. That one's a bit tight, but it's all good. I don't mind that too much. Centralize it, enter, and then we've got that one sorted. So Ctrl and J to duplicate it again, hide the one behind it, get rid of the icon, and then which ones we got left now? So we've got Motivate, New Drops, and Contact. So we're going to bring in this next one, 1600, tick mark, make sure you've centered it, boom. Let's do motivate as the title, Control and J, hide the layer behind it, delete the icon, and let's go for the next one, new drops. So it's all really straightforward stuff. Once you know the size of everything, that's really all you need to know. You can play around with it. If you know what the boundaries are that you've got to work with, then you can be as creative as you like. This is really just a reference for you to know how to create the covers themselves. This isn't like, oh yeah, you've got to replicate my style, because you haven't. You can do whatever it is that you want to do for your covers. I'm just doing this as a little bit of a fun project, like I say, for a friend, and hopefully you likes what I've done. So yeah, there we go, that's that one done. New drops, and then we're on to the last one. So let's duplicate this layer, and then once I've done the last one, I shall let you know how you can actually export these. And again, really straightforward stuff. Once you actually see how easy it is, you'll be surprised. So let's drag in the contact button, contact icon, 1600, tick mark, and I haven't put it in the folder, silly me. Get rid of the icon, and then boom. So if that's actually good that happened. So let's say, for example, this icon is not within that folder and you want to just put it within that folder, because, you know, when you've got a lot going on, it is good to be as organized as possible. So if something is out of that folder, then all you do is you just drag it within it, and boom, it's in there. Same goes if the folder's actually not expanded. You can do the same. So as long as it's highlighted like it's showing in the bottom right hand corner, you drag it in, it's going to appear in that folder or group, sorry. And then that's it. That's all of them done. So you can see all of them if you just, you know, click on the actual eye mark. It'll make it visible, and obviously it'll hide it when you click off of it. But you can see everything's done at this point. So the only thing that's left to do is to export all of them. So we're going to start from the bottom. And if you're ready to export, all you'll do is Control, Alt, Shift and S. That'll bring up your Save for Web window. Make sure that you're changing this to JPEG. Quality is at maximum 100, and then you're good to go. So let's save it. We're going to go into, I think I've got Vandal Fitness highlight covers already. We're going to change this one. Which one was this one called again? I forgot already. This one was Legends. God, my memory's bad. So the next one, we're going to go for About Us. Control, Alt, Shift and S to save for web. Then change this, and we're gonna, sorry, my dog's distracting me now. I've got everything distracting me in my office. About Us, save that. And again, deselect this, make the new one visible. Then we're gonna save this as Inspire. Deselect it, select the other layer. Control, Alt, Shift, S. Advice. So it's all really straightforward stuff, like I say. You just need to know the right sizing. You need to obviously know your boundaries, and that's pretty much it. Be as creative as you want with this sort of stuff. It is, you know, it's unlimited as to what you can do with it. You just need to know how you're saving stuff, how to organize your layers, and I believe that this tutorial should have covered that for you. So hopefully you've got the gist. Obviously, if you've got any questions for me, just let me know in the comments section below. But for the most part, I think we're done. I think we've done it all. The last thing to cover would be to how to access these files from your phone, because obviously that's where you're going to need to upload them from. So there's one of two options. The first one being you can either email everything to yourself. So what I tend to do is, what I used to do actually before I used Google Drive, is I'd just email everything. So I'd send an email to my other email address, which is attached to my phone. Just put the subject as FYI or something, it doesn't really matter. And then just attach every single one of your covers to the email, send it to yourself, access the email from your phone, download them all, and then they'll be within your gallery on your phone. So all you have to do at that point is just upload them to your Instagram. The second option that you can do is either use something like Dropbox or Google Drive, upload them to either one, and then access them from your phone again. Just download the app on your mobile device, whether that's an iOS or an Android. There's apps for both platforms. And then bam, that's it. Download them, upload them to Instagram, and then you're done. You can really just do whatever you want with these Instagram highlight covers. The one thing to bear in mind is that you're going to need to start using Instagram stories if you haven't already. Otherwise, you've got nothing to kind of collate when it comes to these Instagram highlights. Apart from that, guys, I think that concludes the first part of this series. So again, look forward to the second part where we're going to be covering Instagram carousels and what you can do to kind of improve your presentation skills. And also, as a little gem, I'm going to show you how to create seamless Instagram carousels, which don't just work for Instagram, they work for other platforms like LinkedIn, Facebook, anywhere where you can actually take advantage of a carousel system, it'll work. It even works on my website, for example, because I've got a slider on it. So yeah, that's a shameless plug, but go and check out my website for a reference to that, penna.design. Yeah, apart from that, I think, like I say, this video is concluded. So I'll catch you guys in the next video. I hope you like this one. I hope you like the new webcam. I hope you like the new weird microphone that's kind of distracting, but at the same time it proves to be quite good quality, so I can't really complain. And I'll catch you all in the next one. Take care.